Hello and welcome to the Calmcast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. I'm Claire Downham, the Queen of Calm, a transformational life coach. I was a burnt out head teacher who finally made the journey to calm after years of trying, and I want to prevent you from having to do the same. The Calmcast is a series of short explorations, gently guiding you back to your natural state, which is calm and clarity. Just listen like you would listen to music, with an open mind and curiosity. There's nothing else to do. Now let's relax into today's episode.
So today's episode is being created off the back of an amazing 3 days I've just spent with a group of people, some of whom are coaches like me, but a lot of whom are just people who are curious about how life works for human beings. And I had a huge realization while I was there about the levels of stress, underlying stress, not really like noticeable almost, that I am creating by judging, monitoring and supervising. Now let me tell you a little bit more about that to see if you can relate. I'm hoping you can hear me okay today, because I am sat on the side of a very noisy A road in Trevor the motorhome. As I was listening to this speaker on Monday, just hearing those words, judging, monitoring and supervising, had me, I actually burst into tears. Because not only do I know that that was what created the burnout that I suffered in 2015, but also I realised that I'm still doing it. And it was really interesting because where I was at the conference, I was actually volunteering and helping out. And I was very aware of me monitoring the other volunteers, one in particular, to see whether he was behaving himself and noticing when he was doing things that I didn't think were okay, and sitting in seats I didn't think he should sit in, and not tidying up when I was tidying up, all sorts of things. And what I became aware of when I was in that talk on Monday was I'm doing that all the time. Now, when we have something like, I used to be a primary school teacher, so I did have 30 children to supervise and teach, obviously, and monitor and keep an eye on a daily basis. And that was my job. But now, when I'm thinking about the places in my life where I am keeping an eye on other people's behavior, and in my head wrongifying what they're doing, that is creating this really quite profound level of stress. And I'm sharing this today because I think having an awareness of it is really helpful, because what I've noticed over the last couple of days since hearing that talk is me catching myself doing it. Like not I don't need to feel bad about myself. I don't need to go do something to myself to stop doing this. But just with a level of awareness that I'm doing it, that I am judging, monitoring and supervising in my head. Like, most of it doesn't come out, well, the place where it does come out of my mouth is in relation to my fiancé, Bruce. He knows. he gets judged, monitored and supervised And I do verbalize it to him. I don't verbalize it to everybody else in the big wide world, but it's there. It's this niggling bit of thinking that I don't really need to have, because it's nothing to do with me, any of it. And what I'm encouraging today is for you to notice, where in your life are you pointing to or thinking about places where people are doing it wrong, doing life wrong. I mean, it's the silly little things, isn't it? Like, you go into the car park, and how annoying is it when somebody has parked across 2 parking spaces, or they have parked like slightly too close to the white line, so then if anybody parks next to them, they can't get out of their car. All sorts of things like that, day in, day out. And I know it's not just me, I know you're doing it too. We are noticing where other people are doing it wrong. We're judging it as wrong with the underlying assumption that we're right. And then we, in our heads, we're supervising them. Now, there'll be places, you'll see this in all sorts of parts of your life. I have 2 children now. They are grown-ups now, but I know they're 22 and 20, but there are times when I still go in that direction. And I just think bringing some awareness to where we're doing this is really, really helpful. I mean, for me, it's just all the time. It's going on all the time. Like, it's an underlying noise in my head about how people are behaving and what they are doing wrong, and wanting them to do it differently. Now, what usually happens, I think, when we interpret that voice in our head going, everybody else is doing it wrong, we're doing it right, kind of thing, or everybody else is, for me, it feels like everybody else is naughty. They're naughty. Why are they doing that? They shouldn't be doing it. The thing to know is that what it feels like when we feel that feeling is, it feels like that's coming from their behaviour, from that person who's parked wrongly in the car park. Then we feel like, angry feeling or an upset feeling. And it really does look like that person or that behaviour often, because we might not even know what person it is. And then we think the feeling is coming from them. And then it looks like the only way that feeling can go away is if everybody parks in the middle of car parking spaces and never parks slightly to the left or to the right, which is exhausting, isn't it? Because they don't do that. Life isn't like that. So if we've got the idea it's supposed to look a certain way and we keep that in our heads, we will have not particularly pleasant experience of life. The feeling you have is letting you know that you have judgmental thinking, monitoring thinking, supervising thinking about those people and what they're doing, or just about the behaviour. Because as I say, we often don't even know who the person is. And it's just awareness. Like yesterday, we were travelling again, and we had pulled into some services. And as I was walking to the service station from the van, I noticed a man. Well, I noticed a woman and a child get out of a car and walk off. And as they walked off, the man put the music on in the car really, really loud. Now, immediately I'm like, I don't want to hear your music, don't you? I was off, but I was laughing at myself because I'd noticed I was doing it and that could have been creating. Now, because I was laughing at it, it had a completely different energy. Then I came out of the services, and the same man was sitting in his car smoking a roll up, and I was like, his child's about to get back in that car and she's going to be But when I got back to the van, I spoke to Bruce about it, and I was laughing because I was aware of it. And once you're aware of it, you can start to let it go. You can start to laugh at yourself for creating this story about how everyone else is supposed to behave, and realizing that is just creating this underlying. I mean, it is literally like walking around. I mean, like going on a school trip when I was a primary school teacher. That was super lots of things to think about. 30 children, you have to count to 30 like 600 times during the day. Like that is, and at the end of those days I was exhausted because I was responsible for those 30 children. It was a lot to think. Now, when I'm doing that to 30 people's behaviour in the car park at Tesco's or other supermarkets are available, I'm creating that level of stress for myself by judging, monitoring and supervising other people's behaviour. So it's all bonkers, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Just be aware of it, folks. Just like, I had such a realization on Monday that I'm doing this, and a lot fell away. And I hope that listening to this will help that to fall away for you too. Lots of love.
Thank you so much for listening. There's nothing to do now but bring some awareness to how this is working out in your life. Listen regularly to experience longer and longer periods of calm. This has been the Calmcast with Claire Downham, Queen of Calm. Take care and keep listening.